Why do we keep having sex first and wondering why we confused after? Now, if you felt that, then you might want to keep listening to this video. Um, yeah. I have realized that society paints this very backwards picture for us. And I don't even think the majority of us realize this picture that is being painted. I've always felt like since I was young that everything was backwards. And that probably plays into the part of me being on the spectrum, neurodivergent. I am dyslexic. So a lot of things are backwards for me. I read backwards in a sense. I see sequence backwards to front. And honestly, I am claiming it as a superpower now. I have for a while. This isn't new for me, but it's new for you if you're just joining me here. Um, and I just was wondering, like, why are things done the way that it is being done here? And as of late, because this is very recent for me, as I just ended another situationship because it was backwards. So, why do we keep having sex with people and we do not first grant ourselves permission for safety, for understanding, overstanding, um, for sacredness, for structure? Why do we just do it? Well, I know for me, I have got into these situationships because the chemistry was just so damn strong. You know that feeling where you are just fighting with your id. If you're anything like me, I love psychology. I've studied it, but even before then, I was always really deep into the study of the mind, right? I would love to know why we do the things we do as human beings and how we're sitting certain situations or stimuli affecting us. And one of those things is chemistry. You know, we have feelings that we have when we are in front of different energy pheromones. Like you may be more attracted to this type of person because of the chemical reaction you get from them when you are around them. Now, I don't want to say chemistry in a bad way. I want you to think that having chemistry is bad because that's not what I'm getting at. But over time, I realized that we tend to jump more on things that feel more intense. And normally, intensity supports your id. In psychology, that is that part of your brain that wants what it wants. Prime example, my daughter has this obsession with picking flowers. She loves flowers. So wherever we go, she wants to pick them. But every time I remind her, I said, just because it's beautiful does not mean you need to pick it. Let it grow, let it thrive, let it do its own thing. Just admire it. But her id comes in and just does what it does. I tell her immediately, like today, it just happened. I seen her about to pick a flower, and I was like, Tree, don't pick the flower. But she just, her id would not let her just relax. So she ended up picking it anyway. That's kind of like how we are with sex and chemistry with other people. We have this burning desire inside of us when we get around this person. You may sweat a little more, you might get a little hot, your vagina or your penis may become wet or erect. You just, that is just talking for you. And a part of that is dealing with your flesh, because oftentimes a lot of people haven't really been taught from a young age how to have discipline and how to conquer the flesh. And I feel like that's something that should definitely be taught more in school. That should be the foundation because you need to know how to control your urges very early on. And it's interesting because in comedic teachings, um, they teach about that. Like it's called, that's why we got universities, because this universe is certain rims of teaching that you go to, but you have to master a certain rim first before you go to the other one. And I know once they usually talk about urges and discipline and all that kind of stuff, your flesh, around the time that you're going through it, which we're usually going through puberty, what, anywhere between 11 to 15. I know that was around the time. I remember when I first got to high school, that's when my hormones was raging and I did not know what to do with it. So I did everything. But that's just to say that we should definitely learn about that early on, especially in the midst of going through those sensations. But we're not. And that is changing, and it changed with yourself. So I want to definitely teach my daughter about that early on. But anyways, we become slaves to our urges in a sense. And we think because you like somebody, that must mean that you need to have sex with them. You know, that's been the ongoing trend since as long as I can remember. Because as soon as I like somebody, it's just like, okay, maybe we should have sex. And I feel like we've been doing that so backwards. We've been doing that so with such urgency. But in actuality, it's always better to just get to know someone's mind, get to know where they are emotionally, get to know their spirit, get to know them and their boundaries, their limits, soft limits. What are their expectations? I find it very securing to have conversations about one another before you engage in such activities. Because honestly, it could prevent a lot of things from happening that you may not like that happen later down the line because you just went straight into having sex with this person. Um, if you sit there and just ask that person what they want, majority of the time, especially before sex, it's easier to be honest because you didn't have sex, which is another part of chemistry. When women mate or when they engage with someone sexually, you naturally give off oxytocin. This is the same bonding hormone that is given off when you cuddle your baby, when you breastfeed your baby, when you are just engaging in intimacy. It gives off oxytocin. So when you're giving off these oxytocins, when you're having sex with someone so backwards, you are giving yourself this false illusion of closeness, and it makes it easier for you to form an attachment. So when this happens before there is clarity, it only breeds confusion because now you may be thinking about this person more. You may be wondering what they're doing. You probably wondering like, are they having sex with somebody else? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? All because of your chemistry. So it started with the chemistry, the intensity, the nervous system all out of whack, the dopamine hit, which we chase a lot here. Um and you just jumped into it. So now you are becoming attached. You are becoming out of alignment with yourself because now you're chasing a high and you're confused because you shared something so precious with someone and y'all didn't create a safety net first. Y'all didn't create boundaries. Y'all didn't get a better inner under an understanding on what it is that you both want to do with each other, you know? And granted, this is not always what happens. Sometimes people have sex with somebody and they are just very open to them and they really still like them and they may formulate a bond after that. But I am saying this because you can still do that and not have sex first. This is just another way to think about it, another way to explore different avenues because I've done that. I just ended a situationship because we got too physical too quickly without setting boundaries or talking about expectations or understanding what our limits were or what we were dealing with at that time. Like, There's so many things you can ask somebody to get to know them and see if this is worth diving into on a physical plane. You know, do they have kids? Do they want more kids? Do they want to be married? What are they going through right now emotionally? Like, when the last time they got tested? You know, like, even things like that. Like, you don't know until you know. And a lot of times when you have that intense feeling, it just blocks out everything else. And that honestly is a cue for me to not want to do it more. Because if you feel like you have to do it right now, right now, right now, right now, right now, 9 times out of 10, it's your id. And your id has it thinks it's going to disappear at one point. It's just like the ego. All of those are combined with the ego. And the ego is very temporary. So the ego wants what it wants, and it wants what it wants now. Because if you don't do it now, it's not going to get it. This is what's going on in it. This is what's going on with your thoughts. Like, that's another valid point to make, is that your thoughts are not yours. So these thoughts going on about this person, oh, I should do this with this person, oh, they so sexy, they so fine, I should put whatever parts in my mouth or in my body, I should do this, I should have their baby. All those are thoughts that are not yours. And it only becomes something because you act on those thoughts. And it is very important to take your time. I'm saying this to self. Because it's not like I don't have control of my flesh. Because I do. I've been abstinence many times. I've been celibate. But at that time, I knew I was craving intimacy. And I had just went about it wrong because I have not engaged with nobody in months, a long time, because I had ended something prior to that. I just didn't want nobody up in my space like that. But then I start to not randomly, what's another word I can use for that? I kind of just accidentally start liking somebody. And I say that because I didn't like them from the beginning, but I knew that they did something. So I wanted to utilize their services. And I just found that they was a cool person. And all it takes really for me to like somebody deeper is to spend time. I'm a quality time type of person. I'm a touch. My love languages is touch and quality time. That's my top ones. But all of them matter to me. My top ones is quality time and physical touch. So the more I spend time with somebody, the more I end up liking them. If I'm attracted to them, of course, there has to be some type of attraction level. But that's neither here nor there. But regardless of the fact, I allow myself to open up to somebody in a way a bit quicker than my norm, than what I am comfortable with. And I'm human, I'm not afraid to say that I make mistakes still, and I make some decisions that I may not be so proud of. But I'm all about reflection. I'm all about diving deeper than the surface. I'm all about learning from my mistakes, especially if it feels off and it doesn't make me feel good. I didn't like how that relationship ended. It didn't make me feel good because those were a lot of blurred lines. We didn't talk about the stuff that we talked about, but as it ended, then everything came up and they let me know that they wasn't ready for anything to get deeper. Um, they know how to love, but they just didn't want to love me. And I had to accept that because at the end of the day, I don't want nobody to be in my space or all up in me who doesn't have the capacity to love me. And I know many people have gone through that, right? You had sex too soon. You may have liked this person, but they didn't like you that much, especially women. Women go through this a lot because we are more emotional creatures. Men are emotional too, but naturally, you are a more emotional creature and you crave intimacy and connection and nurturing. But it doesn't always pan out that way. So I find it very important for us to take our time, you know, to really get to know the ins and outs about a person before you go into that next step. And it really just be as simple as asking those questions and taking the time to see if they're honest about what they said. Like, do you have the capacity to have aftercare after sex? Like, Can we cuddle after sex? Can we talk about these things after we have sex? Like, how did you feel during? How do you feel after? Can we be honest with each other with what is going on within our body? Can we get tested before we have sex? How do you feel about condoms? How do you not feel about it? Are you familiar with the rhythm method? What happens if we may get pregnant? Because that's the risk, right? Um, do you see yourself being with me? Would you like to be with me after or before we have sex? Depending on how long you're talking to this person, right? It varies, what do you believe in? Like, who was your last sexual partner? What was your last relationship? Why did it end? What did you learn? It's so many things you can ask before you dive into something so intimate and just raw and vulnerable. Like, just going back on this, it's like, wow, like, and but that probes another question. Are you not comfortable asking these questions before something like that happens? And if you're not comfortable before something like that happens, what makes you think you'll be comfortable after something like that happens? It's things that you can think about, things that you can reflect on when it comes to things like this. Because essentially, I mean, in this lifetime right now, you only get one body. And spiritually transmitted diseases are real just as much as sexually transmitted diseases are. So it's important for you to just take better care of yourself. Okay, baby, you're precious. Like, honor your needs, honor your limits, honor your expectations, honor your boundaries. Big on boundaries, honor that. And know what you're getting yourself into before you get into it. Or learn the hard way. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. It's always been yours. And that is also making me segue into my next video, which is a beautiful realization in itself as well, is relationships are up to you and that person to co-create it. It truly is. Like, it doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be what society tells you to be. It can be whatever you desire to be. You just have to choose it. Just like love. Love is a choice. But I'm going to leave it there because I don't want this video to be too long. And I mean, I might have a part two, but for now, I just wanted to keep that in your brain and your mental to just reflect and expound on your own. But comment below if this was resonance for you and if you would like a part two. Okay. Until next video, I'll talk to you soon.